Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Guilty as Charged podcast. My name is Steven, and I am the host. And joining me is my good friend Tyler. Tyler, what's up, man? How you doing tonight?
I'm doing very well. It just finally sunk into me that we're covering a post-Denver win for the first time in the history of this podcast, which isn't, decades long by any means, but we started in 2020. It's been a minute.
Yeah.
We've even had to record a post-Denver loss twice because Alex forgot to hit the record button. So it's nice this time around to be recording after a win, even though we technically already did that. Recording again is nice. Watching the film was nice. Except for one thing that's going to kill me until it finally happens. There were probably three separate times where Ladd McConkey could have gone over 100 yards, whether it's the batted down play, one when there's like a cover zero blitz closer to their own end zone, and then, of course, the bomb down the field that just was off by a hair in good coverage. We were that close, man.
Yeah, we were anxious to see his role expand a bit, and he got some more vertical routes this week. So even though he was a bit banged up, he got to run, a deep dig route. He got to run a deep post route. He got to run a go route. The volume is increasing for Ladd each and every week, and I think they are realizing that that he is their best receiver and their best chance to, create explosive plays in the passing game, and so it's just been fun to see. We are here obviously to dive into our film takeaways. We could probably spend like each and every show talking about Ladd McConkey because the film is legitimately really good every single week. And that could certainly be one of the takeaways, but we'll see if we get to that point. So we appreciate each of you guys for tuning in as always, here in the chat, or whether that is on replay or listening to the show. We are super grateful for your guys' support, and we hope you are liking, subscribing. Everything like that does really help continue to grow the show. Before we dive into our film takeaways, the Chargers did make a move yesterday. I know there were 3 trades in the NFL today. We'll see if the Chargers can make something like that happen. But the Chargers have decided to sign veteran cornerback Eli Apple to the practice squad. A move that drew the ire of certain parts of the fan base, but he is signing to the practice squad briefly, and the Chargers don't really have a ton of healthy cornerbacks right now. So, Tyler, do you have any initial takeaways or strong takes on Eli Apple potentially playing for this team?
If you had asked me this last year or maybe even before the season, I would have a very strong take. At this point, dude, whatever Jesse Minter wants, I don't care. It's worked. Do you remember DiCaprio Boodle getting destroyed in Denver? Do you remember the awful Avalanche game? No. Do you remember Cam Hart or Tart still being awful in coverage? No, because Jesse Minter makes it work. So it's fine. What the real reaction isn't about Apple. It's about the other corners who got hurt or have been hurt. Yeah. And this roster potentially losing a couple of corners. They've already lost Asante Samuel Jr. for at least 3 more games. Fulton, we don't know. Leonard didn't play the rest of the game. So that's more my concern, where my reaction went, not just, oh, Eli Apple is stinky.
Yeah, Eli Apple, I think the perception of him is a lot worse than the statistics in the film would actually say. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I've watched a ton of Eli Apple film, but if you look at his coverage stats over the last 3 years, it's actually like right on par with Asante Samuel Jr. Forced completion percentage is around 9 to 12 on a given year. Pass breakups around 6 to 10. Couple interceptions. Yards per reception is around 12, 13. So the numbers are fine. It's a cornerback who obviously has been very much maligned on social media because he likes to talk a lot and he likes to get beat in the Super Bowl. And I understand that, right? Like there's some viral moments of him getting beat. There's viral moments of every cornerback getting beat. It's kind of the nature of the position. So right now the Chargers needed a healthy, reliable veteran body, I think, on the practice squad to at least kind of stabilize things a bit. Christian Fulton was seen after he got injured. He was on the sideline still and was still like energetic and engaged in the game. So I'm not super sure about his injury. I don't think it's that serious. I think if it were that serious, he wouldn't have been like on the sidelines during the game. I am pretty concerned about Dean Leonard. We did not see him on the sideline, on special teams, on defense at all after he like re-injured his whatever he's dealing with. So there was I think it was on the second Broncos punt where you can kind of see on replay him, he was very gingerly walking back to the sideline. He was down for a bit. I'm concerned about Dean and his status. That was really like you said, my main takeaway was like, okay, somebody is injured and like process of elimination. I think that's Dean Leonard, unfortunately.
Yeah, he's had a nagging injury, tried to play through it, obviously. Now it sounds like, okay, we tried, didn't work, maybe even got worse. We got to shut it down for a bit. Not that I'm suggesting it's, short-term IR or anything, but I think it's going to be a multi-week absence.
Yeah. But like you said, Jesse Minter deserves a ton of benefit of the doubt at this point. And more on these guys later. But
yeah.
I mean, they played Tarheeb still on the outside, Derwin James in the slot, Cam Hart, who, we were a bit concerned about based off of the preseason takes. And they played phenomenally on Sunday, and there were no real like coverage busts, things like that. So if you feel great about what Christian Fulton has given this team, Christian Fulton was objectively a worse cornerback than Eli Apple the last few years. And, this is the kind of stuff that this coaching regime has been capable of, turning these people around. I mean, Teair Tart, who we're also going to talk about today, was cast aside by 3 different NFL franchises. And right now he's playing lights out for the Chargers. So this coaching regime, and specifically Jesse Minter, they're pushing all the right buttons. And if they went out of their way to target Eli Apple, I think they think that they view him as a skill set worth investing in and as a potential player who they would feel comfortable, having snaps on a weekly basis.
I think that also the other impressive thing, honestly, about Joe Ortiz is that every time they sign one of these guys, whether it's the 8th guy they've had to sign, isn't it strange that we know all of them? Like Eli Apple, Boodle, Des Fitzpatrick, like a lot of these guys, I actually know who they are, and that's so strange. Usually it's kind of like, I have no idea who that is, but Ortiz just kind of finds these guys. Sean Wade he's still on the, Sean Wade
is still on the practice
Rigger,
squad,
Jared Patterson. Like this practice squad has a lot of guys that I know, which is so strange.
Yes, I'm not going to lie. I did not know who Nehemiah Shelton was, who they signed this past week. I didn't know who McLaughlin Castles, the tight end today, was the first time I remember seeing that name. So it's not, you don't have all home runs here, but we'll see what happens with Eli Apple. The tweet from his agency did say that the expectation is eventually he gets signed to the active roster. So we'll see, have to monitor the situation. The Chargers obviously have to figure out if anybody has to go on into reserve. But I think it was worth addressing. And obviously I think Eli Apple is somebody that they potentially could feel comfortable with playing as soon as this week.
Yeah, we'll see, right? But I'm more comfortable with him being out there than an undrafted free agent. I don't know. We don't know anything about. Well, he at least has played, I believe. He had a couple of. Did he play last year? Yeah, he played a couple of years, right? With Kansas City.
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, at least he's been out there. Some UDFA from rookie UDFA, I should say. From this year that I don't know. I'll take Apple, I think, over them.
That's fair. So wanted to address that situation, but let's dive into our film takeaways. Today's show and every show is brought to you guys by our friends over at Prize Picks, the best and easiest way to consume daily fantasy sports. Tons of specials going on with all of the seasons kind of coming to an end in terms of Major League Baseball. WNBA finals is tomorrow night, I believe. So this is a great time to get in on the action if you haven't already. And obviously the NFL is in full swing, college football is in full swing. And this is the best way to consume daily fantasy sports. You can go to prizepicks.com/guilty, code guilty for deposit match up to $100. All right, Tyler, let's start with the unsung heroes of the week. We wanted to dedicate this space for players who stood out on a tape watch that we could not necessarily get a full grasp of their performances watching the broadcast. It's so difficult each week to really get a feel for how the interior trench players are playing, how the cornerbacks are playing, how the free safety is playing.
Yeah.
And sometimes even the quarterback can put into this space as well, which I think we could have a conversation about Justin Herbert today, although we spoke a lot about him previously. So for you, Tyler, watching the tape back, who was your unsung hero or heroes of the week?
Yeah, plenty of names to pick from here. I love your choices that you're going to go with. We sort of sang the song about this player already. We both liked him pre-draft. We picked him as a Harbaugh guy. I will go with Cam Hart here, even though we did praise him after the game. We couldn't watch the All-22. We didn't know how things were working down the field. And after the game, we knew he didn't allow any receptions. So great. Like first start, no targets, no receptions, no missed tackles, 3 tackles. Great. That's as good as it gets, right? But okay, what does the film look like? Is it just kind of whatever? Is he lucky? Did Bo Nix just miss several times? And there was one play that he tripped and allowed a reception, but there was a penalty, so it didn't count. Otherwise, I thought Cam Hart had an awesome game. Was he challenged by an elite route runner and had to keep up with several different things? Not necessarily, but a lot of the vertical route stuff was fantastic. I thought the way that he flowed in Jesse Minter's scheme was awesome. And I think if you have Fulton out there and Cam Hart out there, I love that prototype that Cam Hart brings. And so if he can play like this in this system, which is clearly working for him, bright future ahead for sure. I loved that. I loved the way he played the run or short passes. There was one great one we saw. I think he was credited with 3 tackles. I think maybe in on 5 or 6, it felt like.
Yeah.
If he wasn't specifically like the guy tackling him, he was in on it. There were at least 2 or 3 times where he was going up against Cortland Sutton. One where he kind of like knocked him into a pile and over, shoving him aside. Like there was some really good physical stuff, which is what we liked about Cam Hart. And I was so worried after the preseason. What does it look like? Because he had some awful missed tackles. That was gone on Sunday. He was awesome. He tackled well. He diagnosed well. He carried vertically well. There's a couple of hesitation, stutter and goes that he I didn't know. Like Cam Hart maybe wasn't as fluid as some of like the higher end corners of the class. Had no problem stopping, picking his pace back up, working down the field. Was just so impressed. So a combination of the tackling, the coverage, how he looked in the scheme, it looked like a veteran. And that's awesome for a first start for a day 3 pick.
Yeah, and obviously, I wish he were tested a bit more. He did, as you pointed out on Twitter, he did slip and fall one time, which led to a big play, which was negated by a holding penalty on the Broncos. But he was consistently in the right position, which I think is something that you're always looking for rookie defensive backs, especially in this kind of scheme where you have to match routes consistently. You have maybe one player playing cover 3, one player playing cover 2, next player playing cover 1, next player there's cover 0. Jesse Minter is going to change the looks for your secondary on every single play. There were times where they put 6 defensive backs like all in an umbrella, like right. It's just so impressive what Minter is doing. And you've mentioned this previously. It feels very much like the Ryan Ficken effect, where it just kind of like plug and play these players and things look okay. So it's tough to say fully with like we didn't see him get tested vertically very much, but he was consistently in the right positions. He was passing off routes really well. And then, the things that we loved, just the physicality was outstanding to see. So obviously, I'm a bit bummed out that Asante Samuel is injured, but if we're going to get an extended look at Cam Hart, I think this might benefit the team, in the long run, more so than having Asante out there. So I think getting this type of cornerback, these kind of snaps, is potentially huge for this defense because now you can have health, TBD, but I think Fulton is fine. But Fulton and Hart stylistically just match what Jesse Minter wants to do with this defense at a greater level than what Asante has been able to give them.
Yeah, and if this scheme or even just his play can protect him long enough, he just is able to get through 3, 4, and maybe let's see after Asante Jr. comes back, get several games under his belt. Someone does have to get let go or brought back next year. I think we feel pretty strongly that should be Christian Fulton at this rate.
Yeah.
To have Cam Hart starting opposite him and hopefully stack good games under his belt, like I am fine if they take a corner next year, obviously, because you do want to, push the talent of this team to get more. And so Jesse Minter can do more. But like at this rate, I do trust Jesse Minter to do the most with these guys. And if Cam Hart can play consistently and head into year 2, like looking pretty good, I'm not saying you have the corner position solved. You're feeling a lot better.
Yeah, they'll have to figure out some depth pieces, and I think obviously you don't want to hand the position over to these younger guys without having like legit competition. But Pro Football Focus does this new statistic they call the lockdown rate. Essentially, they're looking at ways to quantify how well corners are doing in like true one-on-one situations. They've had the true pass sets for years for pass rushers, defensive tackles, offensive linemen as a way to measure, okay, one-on-one situations, who's great. Now they're starting to introduce that in for the cornerbacks, for the wide receivers. And the goal is to really isolate the position, the kind of snaps where cornerbacks have help over the top. They're playing a screen, they're playing off coverage. You're trying to measure like true, one-on-one situations where you're trying to prevent situation separation more actively. So this week they credited Tarheeb Still with 13 lockdown opportunities, and he prevented separation on 76.92% of them. I thought Hart was a little bit more consistent with like route matching than Tarheeb Still, but a great join for him. And then Hart was right behind him with 10 such opportunities, and he prevented separation on 70% of them. So both very strong metric performances right there from the two rookies. And I think either one of them could have fit for this one. But I do think that Hart, because of his run defense, because of his ability to match routes more consistently, is probably the one I would say had the better game.
Yeah, and at least better statistically in terms of the yardage allowed. But you could almost be more impressed with Tarheeb Still because he got to get thrown out there. Obviously, he's a rookie, and then he had to play outside, which he wasn't really working towards.
Yeah.
So great pass breakup. Obviously, things were let up towards the end of the game, but we can talk about we will talk about the conservative nature of that defense and Bo Nix doing the most Mad Men scramble drill fourth quarter that I think I've ever seen.
Yeah. So I think that's the right call as Cam Hart, especially in an unsung hero. Like Tarheeb Still had his moment. He had the pass breakup. So you got a little bit more shine. My unsung heroes of the week are going to be Mr. Poona Ford and Teair Tart. Poona, we've talked about a lot on the show. I thought this was his best showing as a pass rusher, actually. Thought he had a couple, impactful rushes, had a near sack of Bo Nix that forced one of those maddening scramble drills. And then he drew that hold that prevented the big play to Cortland Sutton, which Quinn Miners ended up kind of bear hugging him from behind. So I thought Poona was really good as a pass rusher, that he was really impactful as a run defender. And Teair Tart, man, I've been saying this every week. I want to see more of him. They're playing him in a limited role. I think he had 16 snaps this week, so it's not a ton, but he had at least 5 like really impactful reps that I saw on tape. He had a bull rush on a pass rush where he put the center right in Bo Nix's lap and forced an incomplete pass. There were a couple run stops, which there are, teach shape reps where as the defensive tackle in this specific defense where you're trying to two gap and you're trying to control the line of scrimmage, he extends on one of the guards or one of the centers, and you see him peek behind to see where the running back is going, and then he sheds, and then he makes the play on the football. It's just textbook stuff. So he is playing so well right now in this limited role. I would love to see him get some more repetitions because he's just, every time he's out there, I feel like he's making a play. I feel like he's making an impact. He's physical. He's setting the line of scrimmage. I think of the backups on this football team right now, I would say Tart has played the best in his limited role so far this season. Last year that was Thule in his limited role. I think this year it's becoming Tart because I think his impact is just showing brighter and brighter every single week from what we've seen so far.
Yeah, great calls with both of them. We both emphasized how important Poona Ford would be, and we didn't back down from this idea that he's actually kind of one of their most important players. But that was more so role and the fact that at the time, there really was nobody else after Ford. Now they have Tart, of course, so great. Yeah. And we weren't sure about Otito, but it was like, okay, it's Poona Ford. If Poona Ford goes down, we're toast. If he doesn't work out, this defense is toast. So we maintained how important he was. I don't think you and I had any idea how good he'd be. Not this good. At least I did not think that he would be this good and this impactful.
No.
And even just the play I tweeted where it's 14 seconds of him chasing Bo Nix in Denver late in the third quarter. Yeah. This dude is 300 plus pounds. Your nose tackle in Denver, and he's chasing after Bo Nix for 13 seconds. I mean, it's just like one of my favorite signings that the Chargers have had in a while. There's always like a sneaky interior defensive lineman signing that they have that I like, but what he's doing, the motor, and the whole way he affects the game is fantastic. As you mentioned, as a pass rusher, it'll probably be very underrated. We'll think of him as the run stopping guy. And at the end of the year, we'll go, oh, he had 25 to 30 pressures. Oh, wow. I didn't realize that. He's just been awesome. Tart's been awesome. Smaller role. I didn't focus on him as much. But at this point, I think the defense is now just a common theme. Even though I liked these signings or liked these players, I think I underestimated basically everyone, and that's coaching. The way that this whole defensive line is playing, whether it's resetting the line of scrimmage or attacking the running back or shedding, or even just working laterally sideline to sideline. Like this whole group, what Elston is doing with this defensive lineman is awesome. These guys are playing fantastic football right now. It blends over to the linebackers playing very well against the run as well.
Yeah.
It's been really impressive. I think every single week we could say this interior defensive line, at least in terms of the run defense, has been unsung heroes.
Yeah, the run defense is outstanding. And Elston, who you credited, I think is great to bring up here because he uses the term block destruction. And it's very different than just like being sound and being able to like, stack and shed. Like those are great attributes, but it takes a different mentality and a different coaching style to really be destructive at the point of attack. And that's what these guys are doing. And that's Otito as well. I thought this was a bit of a tougher week for Otito. I feel like Quinn Miners kind of got him a few times, which Quinn Miners is a great guard. He's become one of the better guards in the league right now. But when you watch Tart and Poona, they are just consistently wrecking the line of scrimmage, forcing running backs to bounce outside, forcing running backs to try and go a different direction, chasing down backs on the opposite side. Khalil Mack gets the forced fumble, but it's actually Tart who makes that play because that play design is designed to go to the left, and Tart just pushes the guard right back into the lap of the running back, and he kind of hesitates, and then Khalil Mack crashes down, forces the fumble. So it's a very little detail. Tart actually did recover the fumble, so he gets credit for that as well. We saw the gritty, obviously, but that fumble does not come to fruition if Tart is not destructing that specific block. So Tart's been fantastic. I will continue to say I want to see more of him. Not that the other players in front of him are like playing poorly. Morgan Fox has maintained his status in terms of run stop percentage, is still in the top 10, which is very unlike Morgan Fox. So again, Mike Elston getting the most out of a guy like Morgan Fox is just great to see. But yeah, I ideally would like to see Tart in kind of the 22 to 25 range of snaps. Otito kind of in that same range, and then Poona and Fox can kind of stay in their specific role. But I would like to see Tart and Otito kind of start to split snaps a little bit more, just to keep both of those guys fresh, both of them impactful, and they can do what they do best and push pockets, destroy blocks, set the line of scrimmage, and all that good stuff.
Yeah, so right now, to your point, Morgan Fox led the way this week with 34 snaps, and then Poona Ford 28, Otito 23, and then that big drop off. It's always been that fourth guy kind of just gets left out a bit. That's Teair or Ty Tart. Is it Ty Tart, right?
That's what the team calls him. Yeah.
Tart, 15 snaps.
Yeah.
So, and Scott Matlack was 6. We can just let that become a fullback thing at this point.
Yeah, and to his credit, he's getting better at the fullback stuff, but there's still some rough moments as well.
Yes. Hey, eventually they're going to throw that fade.
Yeah, the corner route. Yeah. It was rough.
Yeah.
All right. Anybody else that kind of stood out to you and from an unsung hero standpoint, Tyler?
I thought Alohi Gilman played well. You mentioned Poona Ford, so that covered it for me. Cam Hart. I think even just Denzel Perryman for the one play, I think that counts. There's a couple of times. Oh, I totally forgot to mention Poona Ford just absolutely destroying the running back on that one particular play. That was awesome. I think that was Ford. Yeah. Perryman with just the one play changed the outcome of the game. I think if the Denver scores, they keep momentum, they at least tie, or maybe go on to win that game. Perryman prevents the 2-point conversion. Game's over. Like the game is basically over at that point. So got to shout him out.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair. He's been making a few splash plays every single week. Again, his style leads to some missed tackles, but
yes,
you deal with it because the physicality, the speed is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I do think Junior Colson looked pretty good in his limited role. He actually rushed the passer and affected Bo Nix a couple of times, which is good to see. They haven't really had like an effective blitzer of that trio just quite yet. So, that's a positive step forward for Junior Colson. All right, let's get to our narratives of the week. I'll go first here. I don't know how to quantify this quite yet, but I want to show some real love to this Chargers rookie class because we've seen around the league that when you get instant impact players from a rookie class, it can change the trajectory of your franchise. We've seen that with the Lions recently in their draft, where they get Penei Sewell and Amon-Ra St. Brown and all those guys in the same draft. We saw that in the Saints in 2017, where they get Marcus Williams and Alvin Kamara and all these guys in that specific draft. And this Chargers class has the potential to get to that point. And we've seen glimpses of, obviously, the top two players, Joe Alt and Lamek Conkey, are, I would say, above average players right now in the NFL. I think that both of them have made strong impacts. They've both gotten better and better each week. Junior Colson has had some moments, but we haven't seen him play a ton of snaps due to the various injuries. But I just mentioned him. He's had some good pass rush reps, good coverage reps. He's well on his way. And now we've seen 2 consecutive starts for Tarheeb Still, who, I'm not going to lie, I was not the highest on watching his film at Maryland, and credit to, the coaching staff and to the scouting staff for identifying a player who could fit the system, maybe better than what he was doing in college. As a slot defender, I really liked the way he played against the Kansas City Chiefs. I thought that his ability as a run defender, as a blitzer, as a short area coverage defender was really, really good. And so there was some encouraging signs there. And then you mentioned him this week, switching positions to the outside and playing well, making a pass breakup, saving a touchdown. And then our guy, Kamani Vidal, gets his big moment, scores a touchdown, has a couple impactful rushes. That's a ton of impact from a rookie class. And we knew that they were going to have the 2 starters from the first 2 round picks. Junior Colson was going to play a lot. We were a little unsure of where the rest of these guys would play and find value. And listen, man, if Tarheeb still plays like he did again next week, I don't know if I want to go back to Jasir Taylor. Not that Jasir Taylor has been bad, but Tarheeb still has been more consistently around the football and making stronger impacts. And same kind of deal with Cam Hart. If Cam Hart plays like he did again next week and he continues to play like he has, and he gets some chances to play, the football a little bit more, and he does well in those moments, I don't know if I want to go back to Asante Samuel Jr. And I don't know if I want to go back to the Gus Edwards experience after watching Kamani Vidal, bring that kind of presence. So it's to be determined this specific season once these guys, the veterans ahead of the young guys, kind of come back. But the signs of the day 2, day 3 class that we're seeing over the last couple of games for this Chargers rookie class are so positive to me that I think this could really, really turn into a great Chargers draft class. And we felt that way after the class. We really liked it. But seeing them all get on the field, not all of them, obviously Justin Boybe and Brendan Rice have not really done a whole lot yet. But the rest of them all played on Sunday. They all played well. They all made impactful plays. And it was just like a lot of validation for them, a lot of validation for what we have been seeing and saw during the draft. And man, if this class can just continue to make plays and develop, and maybe not all of them become consistent starters, but you get a franchise right tackle, a potential wide receiver 1, and maybe 2 or 3 other starters out of this class, that changes your franchise, man. That sets them on the trajectory where we want them to get to, where they can turn into contenders and they can turn this roster around in a hurry. Yep. So big shout out to the 2024 NFL draft class, the coaches, the scouting staff, because it looked great. And I hope it continues to look great going forward.
Yeah, we felt great about this class. We felt it just matched the team so well too. Everything, that the way the value, the fit, the style, all of that. Nicholas, right on time, is asking, is Joe Ortiz your executive of the year, favorite so far? I'd have to look at other teams, obviously. They'll see how the Commanders do. If they end up winning the division, it might go to Adam Peters. Yeah. We'll see. But he's at least a contender based on the free agent signings we just talked about. And, of course, this rookie class. Looking at Kansas City, of course, there are misses, right? Like Sky Moore, I'm sure they'd love to have back. Darian Kennard, sure, like not exactly a starter for them. But not that Trent McDuffie's, they didn't draft Trent McDuffie this year. They got Joe Alt, though, and they used their second pick on McConkey the same way that they used Karlaftis. Solid contributor there. Is Karlaftis an edge one great elite player in this league? No, but he's a very solid contributor. At minimum, that's what we're getting with McConkey here. They got their Chenal in round 3. They got Josh Williams and Jalen Watson, the defensive backs on day 3. They got Pacheco, late day 3. If they can get anything close to that, like you said, like we know, like Joe Alt, best rookie tackle in the league. McConkey, excellent versus man, breakout games incoming, second in yards per route run versus man behind Justin Jefferson and CeeDee Lamb, which I got like crap for on social media. Like, oh, it's a made up stat. It's a fake stat. Like, it just is what it is, man. Like, that's how efficient he is versus man.
You're in company of Justin Jefferson. Like,
yes.
Shut up and take it.
Yes. I'm not saying that he has the same capacity for 2,000 yards.
Yeah.
But on a per play basis, he's that good. It's a volume issue at this point. So there's that. We know like Colson's going to be great. This rookie class was awesome, and it's only going to be better with more picks, obviously, down the line. Like if Ortiz does this again next year with all like what he's done with $1 million contracts is awesome.
Yeah.
You go out there and find yourself a couple better players. I love and respect all these players and how well they're doing, but what is Minter going to do with like elite stuff? Because he's not always had like the best stuff while at Michigan. There was no Hutchinson, which sorry for his injury. There was no Ojabo, but he made it work, and the defense was awesome. So what can he do with maybe some more toys? Obviously, great class. And just really validating to see. We like these players; they're doing well, and just belief in this coaching staff. Like, what does good coaching look like all around? And so far, like it just validates how all Chargers fans felt when they hired Harbaugh, and then obviously Jesse Minter.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen in previous years where you have this rookie class, the day 3 players, and instead of giving one of them a shot, they go sign like a Trey Marshall type, or they go sign, they go bring in like a Keelan Doss type or something like that, and it's just the trust that they are putting in this rookie class, and the rookies are executing. Again, it's 1 week. I don't want to overreact and say things that I will regret, but the trajectory looks so positive after Sunday that I think you have to give them a shout out. And it's been great to see right now for this rookie class. Yeah,
for sure. It sounds like we're still having neighbors debates in the chat. Y'all, Joe Walt's allowed 4 pressures in 4 games. That's a little better than what we're used to.
Yeah, there were some people who I'm going to talk about these guys later, but some people after the game were like, Joe Walt's PFF grade, did he look bad? No, the guy was fantastic again on Sunday. So you love to see it. All right, Tyler, what is your narrative of the week after watching the All-22 coaches tape?
I started with the defense when I watched film, and we talked about this after the game as well. The Chargers need themselves a closer opposite Khalil Mack, because whether it's nobody being able to tackle Bo Nix or finish a sack, poor Bud Dupree's probably having nightmares because he probably had the greatest possible game on the field, except it didn't count because he couldn't finish the plays, because he had somewhere between like 4 and 6 sacks, it felt like. But they need themselves a closer in these games as a pass rusher on defense. I think this scheme in the secondary can work, even though they played hyper conservative in the 4th quarter in particular when they started losing players. But there's only so much Matt can do, and there's certainly it's only so much these guys can do in Denver. They need a closer. Fox 4 pressures, that's great. He contributed. They need themselves a closer. And that could just be the return of Joey Bosa, which would be awesome for this defense. But they need that closer to finish these games, because that game was really, really close to them losing. They need that one more guy opposite Khalil Mack.
Yeah, I think you hit this right on the head. And then there's a lot of trade talk happening right now because there were 3 NFL trades and everybody wants a wide receiver. And I get it. I think that is a need that they could explore.
Sure.
But if Joey Bosa is not healthy, they need somebody else. And even if he is healthy, I still think they need somebody else, particularly on the interior, to kind of continue to finish off these games. So a lot of their pressures, because I tweeted this out, the Pro Football Reference, the way that they define pressures is a little different than the way that PFF defines pressures. And so on Pro Football Reference, they have the Chargers at 29th in the league in pressure percentage. 29th is not going to cut it. And they're a little bit more strict on what defines a pressure versus PFF. And so you look at PFF's count and they see 23 individual pressures, and it's like looks great. They pressure Bo Nix on I think 46% of his dropbacks. Well, I would say probably at least 10 of those pressures were Bo Nix created, and Bo Nix holding on to the football for too long. And so the way that you want to close out games is you have like quick instant wins, and obviously you're able to finish those wins with sacks. So right now you have Khalil Mack. Thule's kind of unfortunately taking a bit of a step back. He's also getting fewer opportunities on the edge. They're rushing him more against guards. He's kind of becoming the dirty work guy. Bud Dupree has been like, okay, he has some good moments, but he's not obviously Joey Bosa level. And then Poona and Teair Tart, like they're impactful in terms of they can crush a pocket, but they are not super instant wins, right? Like they're not really the ones that are creating the sacks. So they need somebody else. I think they could blitz a lot more, but this is a group that I think needs, one more guy, even with Joey Bosa potentially coming back.
Yeah, I agree. I just missed it. Someone asked if we'd prefer interior or edge rusher. Based on the number of bodies they have, I would prefer interior. I don't know if you agree.
Yeah, I do agree, just because even if Joey is out, like they paid Bud. Thule, I think, can at least, rebound here. He's had some very productive games in the past, so hopefully he can kind of get back to his ways. But right now, the only pass rusher on the interior they have that can consistently win quickly is Morgan Fox, and he's also taken a bit of a step back. So it's just like, I think they need that fifth interior guy and somebody who can create pressure in a hurry. I'm not saying go out and get, people are asking about like Jeffrey Simmons. Teams don't trade those kind of players during the middle of the season unless you are willing to pay up, multiple second round picks like the Seahawks did for Leonard Williams. And I can't really see the Chargers doing that. So just like a Morgan Fox-esque player, they just need a second one.
Yeah, I agree. How that doesn't really help your more snaps for Tart situation.
No, but
it would be best for the team.
Yeah, I agree. And if they wanted to go out and get an edge rusher, it would have to be because Joey's like legit injured. If Joey comes back and gets injured again, which would suck, but it's Joey Bosa, unfortunately, very much on the table.
Yeah.
If that happens, then I would definitely be on board with going out and trading for an edge rusher.
Yeah, I completely agree. All right, Julian, we're going away. Bye-bye. Bye, Julian. Okay, there we go. Sorry, I take care of that.
I don't understand why that person is in the chat. But
because they have no life and no wife.
Very nice. Very nice. If you're listening to this, there was a troll in the chat. All right, let's get to our real or fake segment here. Tyler, for you, we'll go back to your side of things. In terms of what is real from watching this tape, where do you want to start?
I flipped this. I was going to have this in the fake category, and I moved it to real. Now, I don't think the Chargers are going to lead the league in pass rate every single week. But watching them play, and particularly against Denver, and with these tackles back, obviously, tackles are hurt, different story. Don't even talk to me about pass rate. But with them back, and with Herbert looking as good as he did, I think they're going to pass a whole heck of a lot more. I think this is here to stay. I think Herbert looked healthy for one, comfortable for another, more aggressive. There were several times where he shook off defenders as well. Clearly, the angle is much better. I think they're going to lean into how much passing Herbert can do because, I don't know, he's pretty good at it. After watching that game, you could tell he just had a return to form and command of the offense. Wasn't perfect, couple of misses, couple of missed opportunities in the red zone, but he genuinely looked better. And I think they went, yeah, all right, let's do this, and let Herbert almost in his own way deal with the pressure of what's in front of him and diagnose. And I just thought, again, I don't think they're going to lead the league in pass rate every single week. They can switch it up if they need to, but with Vidal coming along and potentially being an outlet as a pass catcher, we'll see with Hurst, but even Stone Smart caught a pass. I just think the way they spread the ball around in an almost like controlled way that you could even call kind of a run game, I think they're going to lean into this a lot more. I think we're going to see them flip the script here.
Yeah, I actually really enjoyed the way that Greg Roman opened this game. And it
Mhm.
was a lot of concepts where you could get Justin Herbert out on the move. I think the play action attempts increased quite a bit this week. The biggest issue I had of when Herbert was injured, it was like, okay, where are your answers to get this offense in rhythm? And they just didn't really have any because he can't move. Well, now that he can move, you can, do all these RPO concepts. You can do some screen games. The way that they used Darius Davis this week, I thought was a
Mhm.
great way to kind of change up the offense. And so I thought Greg Roman, watching the tape, had called a really, really good game for the bulk of the performances. There were a few
Yeah.
calls that I did not like very much. But I just felt like they were allowed Justin Herbert to get in a rhythm at a higher level.
Sorry, missed the mute button there. No, I completely agree. I love the way that they distributed the football. People are mentioning the screens. The screens were awesome. The block, 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 block with Will Dissly, and then the awesome 25-yard catch he has every game. I love it.
It's
It's
awesome.
efficient. It's awesome. It works. I thought they did a really, really good job this week. It just, we saw glimpses of it in week 2. We just never could even finish that because Herbert got hurt, and they were up by a ton anyway.
Yeah.
But you really see them returning back to kind of what the plan was for this. So Dobbins runs pretty solid overall. Herbert's looking great. We're finding some great balance. But yes, we can throw out the draw RPO, fake pump pass, whatever.
That took so long to develop. Also, throw away any passing concept where Eric Tomlinson is your first read. I do not care to see that. Will Dissly your second read and Scott Matlock your
Yeah.
third read. Those
Yeah.
need to go away.
So I'll just jump into my fake real quick because that is mine. Because just send it away. I'm sorry. Those plays, look, the intention of getting big guys out there and saying, hey, look, we're going to run the football. And then, oh, we're passing the football. Like, I get the intention, but you don't have the guys to really then go out and then catch these passes. And I like Dissly, but there are plays where it's like Darius Davis is the receiver on the outside, especially after Simi got hurt, or it's Simi, or it's literally anyone other than McConkey. And it's just the blocking receiver. It's 2 tight ends, and it's Scott Matlock, and all of them are running routes. And it's just like, okay, so do I take Matlock on the corner or this other blocking tight end on the fade?
I think Riley Moss was one-on-one with Eric Tomlinson in that situation.
Yeah.
What the hell is Eric Tomlinson going to do in that situation?
Look, and again, I don't know if it doesn't work. They haven't thrown it yet, but you just don't have the horses to run this, man. So I get the intention. It might work one day, but I don't like seeing it. They run it in the red zone. I've seen Matlock in the end zone as a vertical route runner far too many times.
Yeah.
Look, it's going to be a sick touchdown one day, but the other 12 times I have to watch it are going to kill me.
Yeah, I'm a-okay with throwing him a flat route and it's like a designer touch where you're doing a bootleg and he's wide open. Cool, works for me. If you're trying to get him to create separation, what are we doing? I don't understand. Even if that were Xander Horvath, a much better athlete, I'd be like, no, throw that away. So
Sure, yeah,
maybe this becomes a Stone Smart area, but yeah, doing a traditional play action drop back concept with those 3, I was like, bro.
Yeah.
And
if they had Mike Williams as the lone receiver out there, I would kind of get it more because you at least have a genuine threat to just flat out win vertically jump ball versus that corner.
Yeah.
But they have look, Simi Folk got a great catch, obviously, but just the things that are dialed up, it's not pretty. I don't love it.
Yeah, that's totally fair. What's real for me, we've talked about this a lot, but the Rashawn Slater Joe Alt effect is so real for this team. Rashawn Slater, I caught some heat on this yesterday. I have said this on the show before. When Rashawn Slater is healthy, he is the best player on the football team, in my opinion.
Correct.
And I think he is just it's nitpicking right between him and Justin Herbert, but the consistent dominance that he plays with is very unique in this league. And I think the Broncos they don't have a star edge rusher, but they have some good players. Nick Bonito is I think top 10 in the league in pass rush win rate. Obviously, Jonah Ellis is a good young rookie. Jonathan Cooper is a good player in this league. None of them were able to come close to touching Justin Herbert when Rashawn Slater was blocking them. And then what he was able to do in the run game was fantastic as well. But in terms of the pure effect from a pass protection standpoint, the Chargers now in games where Rashawn Slater and Joe Alt are on the field together are allowing pressure at a 25% clip, which if that number carried out for a whole season last year, that's the top percentage in the league. And so I know that the Chargers have some issues from a pass protection standpoint. The Broncos blitzed Justin Herbert on 61% of his dropbacks on Sunday. 61%, which is more than Brian Flores did last year in the Vikings game. It was a crazy amount of blitzes and stunts and everything that they wanted to throw at them. But because you have these two tackles, you can dedicate so many more resources towards solving those blitzes, towards protecting the middle. And it wasn't pretty all the time. There were still several communication errors between Bradley Bozeman and Zion Johnson and Jamari Sawyer. But because of these two tackles, they are able to create so many more clean pockets. And it wasn't really until like late in the fourth quarter where I was like, man, Justin Herbert's like really getting pressured right now. It just, watching the tape, watching the broadcast, it felt like every pass play was a very clean pocket. And that is almost exclusively because of Rashawn Slater and Joe Alt.
Yeah, they were awesome. I thought Rashawn, like we've praised, and Brandon Thorne has mentioned this even after week one, like Joe Alt's playing great, like playing really, really solid right now. Rashawn Slater's a whole different level though. Yeah. Whatever you think of Joe Alt, and he's playing great, especially for a rookie switching sides. Rashawn Slater's a different level. I forget what the play was, but there was some run play to the left side, and Rashawn Slater's just out there 25 yards down the field. What's so impressive is, you look at these college prospects, and a lot of people fall in love with these guys that can move. Kingsley Suamataia, like he could move like crazy, indisputable, great athlete, but he didn't have like that strength. That grip strength, the tenacity, the kind of meanness sometimes that Slater can play with. It's just a whole different ballgame. Like Slater can move like that, and he's so strong, or he can shut guys down. I don't know if he got bigger this offseason. I don't know if he did or not. I guess it wouldn't surprise me given, Ben Herbert and such, and Duke Manyweather for another year. But just watching him against these edge rushers, they just look tiny. And the grip strength from Rashawn Slater is like, he's holding the guy. And it's like, okay, you're not moving. There goes your day. I mean, it's just so impressive. I mean, we've mentioned that with Joe Alt too, but Slater was awesome this game. And like shocker, with two functional tackles and a good leg, Herbert also looked much, much better this game. So what they're able to do, it's awesome. I love watching both these tackles because even a run play to the left, which J.K. Dobbins loves, that's his thing. That's going to be his big play, left side thing. Even watching that, you have Joe Alt on the other side. Like watch Joe Alt block too, to cut somebody off or to do something super athletic. That's almost as fun. And he's 6'8". It's ridiculous. I love watching these two guys play.
Yeah, I actually thought the run blocking was significantly better than I kind of expected after watching the game tape. And J.K. Dobbins, it was the 3.8 yards per carry. Well, if you take out the stupid ass draw play where he loses 6 yards, and then there was like another one where he tried to bounce, he got tackled for loss, and then obviously the end of the game script where the Broncos are selling out against the run.
Yeah,
I realize that's a lot of qualifiers, but outside of that, I thought the run blocking was fantastic. And again, those two are at the forefront of it because they run left so much because Rashawn is just able to seal off defenders at such a high level. And then you mentioned it, Joe Alt on the backside is able to cut off the edge defenders on that side or the three techs. The way that Joe Alt can go from right tackle to reaching a one technique is unique, rarefied offensive tackle air. And then it's the same thing with Rashawn Slater. There are other tackles who are like more physical than him, like Trent Williams and Penei Sewell, just like destroy folks, right? But like Rashawn has this way to just like finish his assignment, and then he just kind of like sets the guy down. It's the funniest thing to me. He does it as a pass protector. He does it as a run blocker. And it's giving the Chargers so many running lanes that they did not have when Rashawn Slater was healthy. They did not have when the right tackle situation was with Storm Norton or even Trey Pipkins or whoever, the two tackles are creating so many clean pockets. They're creating cutback lanes, and J.K. Dobbins is taking full advantage. And I could have brought J.K. Dobbins up again today because his film I thought was a fantastic watch. But the two tackles, man, it's a game-changing experience to watch on tape. The angles, the protection, everything that they are giving this team right now is creating a real winning edge for this football team.
Yeah, great play, sustainable play, organization centering play. Those two tackles, if they're healthy like that, with Herbert, of course, that can get them into the postseason and be very dangerous, because you get to the postseason, you're facing the best of the best. If your edge rushers can't do anything, which we've seen, against like Max Crosby and, Clowney, not quite the same kind of guy, but still what we saw from just this past game, if you can't do anything, hey, Herbert's going to be good. So I've loved watching these guys so far.
Yeah. Real quick from Trevor, he wants to know, was it Peck related why Slater went out to the game? I think it might have been like a tricep thing with him. When he came back in, he had like a little like circular brace around his like bicep tricep area. That's not a moment to like, Mac. Come on. So I think it might have been like a minor like tricep issue. It was no setback in my opinion. I thought he was just as good before and after he came back into the game. I think it might have just been like a little tweak issue. So I think he should be fine.
Yeah, it should be fine. I definitely got nervous when suddenly I started watching Trey Pipkins at left tackle. Like, oh gosh, here we go again. Like, oh,
well,
gosh.
Foster Sorrell was playing left tackle for a bit there.
Oh, was that him?
Yeah, because right. Trey went out also.
Yeah,
so they put Jamari in at right guard, and then Foster Sorrell came in, and I was like, what is going on right now?
Yes, thankfully, it seems like we're good.
Yeah, seems like we're good. But outside of that, I still am concerned about the communication issues that are happening. There's still these moments where Bradley Bozeman is calling the protection this way, and somebody on the line is like doing the opposite. So one of the sacks that the Broncos did have, everybody is sliding left except for Jamari. Like Joe slides to the left side, they all slide to the left. And you can tell that J.K. Dobbins is like expecting to slide to the opposite way. And then Jamari kind of like runs into Joe Alt a bit. And then it just leads to a free rusher and instant pressure. So this issue of like communication, at some point, maybe in the season, we can get rid of it, because it really is like the only thing keeping this protection unit from being like top notch in the league. It's literally just communication against blitzes. It's such a thorn in their side right now. So I just hopefully this gets better, because right now it's the only issue that's really causing them any pressure right now.
Is in general, not that I understand every assignment, but they looked strong and they communicated well in the run game. So
right.
They do know how to work together. For some reason, that in particular in pass protection and in certain instances, it's so strange, and I don't get it. I don't even know who to blame at this point. Airbud says that Zion is a freak, but had some good moments in the run game. And I definitely agree. He had some great moments in the run game for sure. Had several great moments in the run game. Like, he is just night and day different as a run blocker, as an athlete, than the other guys in the interior, especially if Jamari's in the interior. Just some mental issues. But if we're passing around blame for this interior, Zion's like the third guy I'd talk about, because Jamari was a little rough on Sunday, and then Bozeman's just hasn't really had great games.
Yeah, I would agree with that. To me, this was Zion's best game. PFF credited him with 3 pressures, and I would say 2 for sure. The other one I think is a little bit dicey, but if they can get that version of Zion every single week, it would be a huge win for this team going forward. Did you have another one? You kind of brought up your fake one already, but
yeah, I think I've got most of it out of the way. I don't know what else there is to talk about. So you have, I think, at least one more thing.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about the like conservative nature again. Like in the live stream, we got a lot of comments that the Chargers were playing prevent defense, and that's the only reason why the Broncos were moving up and down the field. I think they play conservative on the back end in general, and that didn't change. I think they played the exact same game plan from a secondary standpoint, from a coverage standpoint, that they were playing previously. The main issue that I saw on tape from a coverage standpoint was the middle of the field kind of was not matching the routes at a super high level. And by that, I mean the linebackers and the safeties, mostly Derwin and Alohi, kind of struggled with that in certain moments. And then there were certain times where Junior, who hasn't played a lot recently, and Denzel would get a little lost in coverage. They wouldn't get deep enough in their drops, and that allowed Bo Nix to have some throwing windows. But overall, man, like Bo Nix played the most chaotic game I've ever seen of any NFL quarterback on tape. I think I've witnessed in my lifetime watching the fan. Like there were at least 4 or 5 times where he would like step up, spin out, reverse back the other way. And as a defender, it's extremely difficult to deal with that kind of chaos. And so you're trying to, match a route, match a second route, match a scramble drill, go make a play on the quarterback scrambling. The Chargers are going to be much better prepared for Bo Nix, the scrambler, next time around because they know what he can do now. But this to me was like just ultimate chaos mode. It felt like a more mobile version of Jameis Winston, where Jameis would just go pure chaos mode and just like you have no answer for it sometimes. So Kyler, they play Kyler Murray next week. I think Kyler is a much better just processor of the game. Like he's willing to stay in the pocket and throw the football. Because there were times where Bo Nix could have, if he would have just like stayed a bit patient, he had pockets and he had opportunities to throw, but he doesn't see the field well as a quarterback. And so he would chaos mode, scramble one way, nobody's open, I'm going to scramble the other way. So I know that the game was close, man, but this really was just like a chaos Bo Nix game. And that's really the only complaint that I have is like, you were not prepared for the 1% outcome here where Bo Nix goes Dr. Chaos. And, sometimes that happens in the NFL.
Yeah, it was as Kevin points out, you can't prepare for random, and it really was. Like, I don't know, one, you didn't have all your corners to begin with, then you lose your corners, and then Bo Nix just, like you mentioned, just does this chaotic running style, which look, he made some plays.
Yeah.
It worked. It got them almost to a tie in this game. They started to move the football, but it wasn't working for 3 quarters either. So it just happened to be a perfect storm of missing a sack, scrambling for 4 hours, and then eventually, like Tarheeb still, Cam Hart, these guys, they're going to give up a pass because it's been 6-7 seconds, and at that point, it's just out of structure. Go chase the guy, and that's not fair. This isn't flag football. And then, like you mentioned, and I'm glad you mentioned it, the middle of that was the only like actual like in structure issue. It felt like for the most part was the stuff right in the middle of the field. It felt like decent run defense. Okay, they're getting, tackling a screen here or there, 3rd down or 2nd and long or whatever it was. There's the 4th dig route that they're converting for a 1st down. It felt like, again, the same guy running a post or a dig or something in the middle every time was the conversion. So I think they'll be fine. I don't expect Kyler Murray to do the same thing. I know there's a lot of worry, and maybe, the Cardinals look at that and go, hey, that's our best shot, especially with Marvin Harrison Jr. dealing with something.
Yeah.
But I just, you can't prepare for that. You can't even like as an offense game plan for that. It's just chaos. It's random. And the Chargers just they just didn't have the answer for it, which is fine.
Yeah. One of the things I really loved about the way that they played the Chiefs is that they did an awesome job keeping rush integrity. They kept Patrick Mahomes in the pocket for the most part for most of that game. And when you don't have this kind of exposure to a quarterback, it makes it difficult to prepare for. And so this week with Kyler, everybody knows that Kyler, the kind of athlete he is, it's going to be, they're going to have some moments, I'm sure, where they'll give up some big scrambles, but they know what to look for this time. Like they'll have a plan to make sure they stay tight in their rush lanes and they're not kind of, going all out there. But it was a little chaotic from a rush lane standpoint this week. So that's maybe is something you can critique them. There were a couple of times where like Thule and Bud would kind of like run into each other and it just opens up a scramble lane. So if you want to criticize that, that's fine with me. But overall, there was one play where Bo Nix, he steps up, he steps out, he spins back, and then he spins back to the sideline and then hits the sideline pass for 15 yards. It's like, there's not really anything you can do about that. So they'll have a better plan for him next time that they play the Denver Broncos. But this idea that the Chargers played prevent and it was like this dink and duck Gus Bradley situation, that's not what happened at all. It was just really kind of a scramble drill after scramble drill. And unfortunately, the Chargers just did not have an answer for it.
Yeah. So I'm certainly not worried about that moving forward. Something to keep an eye on, but I think they'll fix it.
Yeah, I agree.
Or never run into it again.
Yeah. But I can't imagine Sean Payton, who is like the rhythm offense guru, is very happy with the amount of scrambles.
No, Joe Lombardi's like the coordinator. There's no way Joe Lombardi's like, yes, more chaos.
Yeah. They actively told Justin Herbert to stop scrambling. So I don't know if that's going to work for very long.
Yeah.
All right, Tyler, any other thoughts before we head out here tonight?
One super chat from Kurt says defense has allowed 13.2 points per game, only 4.2 in the first half. How does this team improve second half defense? Does it even need to improve? I mentioned pass rusher. I think just a one final closer would be awesome. But at the end of the day, like offenses are going to score. So 13.2, going from 4.2 in the first half to 9 in the second half. Like, I'm not going to complain too much. If that were an offensive issue, that's a different story.
Yeah, I do think the offense improving in the second half would help the defense being able to stay off the field. You know, Morgan Fox kind of like joked after the game, like in the first half, he felt like they were barely on the field because they were like only on the field for 8 minutes or whatever. They were on the field the entire fourth quarter, maybe not fourth quarter, but it felt like the last 5 minutes of the third and then most of the fourth quarter, the defense was on the field because, again, said scramble drills. So offense has to do a better job of sustaining drives in the second half for sure. That is an issue that needs to be corrected. And then defensively, the pass rush, you got to be able to get home in those situations to, you know, put these offenses into more long distance situations as opposed to being able to scramble for 5 yards and get a first down kind of deal.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. That's going to do it for us tonight. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the episode. Okay. Right as we're ending, we get another super chat.
Lorenzo, encore.
Finally got to see them win in Denver, and so many players signed my bolt up Chargers towel and a selfie stick with QJ. Very, very cool. Seems like a lot of our listeners were able to attend this game in Denver. So I don't know if you guys like Lorenzo are always going to the games in Denver, but maybe we just need you there every year from now on to, you know, bring some good luck to the team going forward.
Yeah, if you were there and this is their first time and they won, go. If you've been going and they've been losing, just stop going.
Yeah. All right. Okay, so we'll be back on Thursday for our full preview of the Cardinals game. This is on Monday night, so we'll have a bit of a different schedule next week for the episodes. We'll keep you guys posted about that. But we will do our usual show on Thursday, and we'll have a fun time breaking down this episode. All right. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. Make sure, like I mentioned, like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff does help continue to grow the show. This has been the Guilty as Charged podcast. As always, bolt up.